This is Your Superior Self, episode 62, Success Follows Humility, with motivational speaker Jairek Robbins.
So I said I'll do it. I moved up to Canada, and I took a hard labor job at a lumber yard. And so every morning at 4:30 in the morning, I'd get up, I'd work out, lift some weights, run for a half hour, lift for a half hour, eat breakfast real quick, get ready, drive to this, 20 minutes to get to the side of the freeway. A van of migrant workers from India would pull over and pick me up. I'd jump into the van. We would drive an hour and a half up to the lumber yards. Half of us would go to one yard, half the other. And then we just stack wood all day. Pick it up, move it over, set it down. Pick it up, move it over, set it down. That's it, all day. Just lumber stacking, normal job. And I remember in the beginning, I was like, yeah, it's easy. I got this. I'm strong. I'm capable. And I was getting up, coming home after probably 2-hour drive home because of traffic, 20 minutes back to the house, go lift weights, get my cardio in, do a run, eat dinner, go pass out, wake up 6 days a week doing that. In the beginning, it was all about proving myself and showing what I was capable of. About halfway through, I remember looking at myself in the mirror and thinking, how dumb are you? Why in the hell would you sign up for this? I could be learning a new skill set. I could be making more money. I could be getting my resume ready for life. There's so many other things I could be doing right now except for stacking stupid piles of wood. I'm smarter than this. I'm better than this. Why am I getting told what to do? I should be telling these guys what to do. And all these stories started coming into my head. A lot of stories which sound like young people in the workplace nowadays. But all these stories started flooding my mind. I'm better than this. I'm smarter than this. I have a degree. All this stuff's piling up in my head. And I remember at one point looking at myself in the mirror in the bathroom and thinking, who the hell do you think you are? I said, who the hell do you think you are? And the reason I said that is I said, stop for a second. We're not that far off as a country from a moment in history during the Great Depression when grown men would wait in line for 8 to 12 hours a day for the opportunity to get in a couple hours of work, regardless of what it was. Grown men would wait in line for 8 hours to be able to put in 2 hours of work, to be able to get a piece of bread to take home to their kids at night. And I'm here thinking I'm better than this job. I'm smarter than this.
Welcome back, Superior Nation, to your source of inspiration, your source of motivation, your favorite podcast, Your Superior Self. I'm your host, Trey Downs, and I'm going to start the show off by saying Happy Mother's Day. Happy Mother's Day to all the moms out there listening. Happy Mother's Day to my beautiful wife, my mom, my stepmom, and my mother-in-law. All of you influence me on a daily basis, and you guys help me become my superior self. I want to start the show off by reading from the book Limitless by author Laura Gassner-Otting. She will be a guest on the show later in the week. I'm excited to interview her. And this book, I have picked it up and she signed it for me, and I literally have not been able to put it down. And it has influenced me in the way that I've been thinking recently. And I wanted to read from you the introduction. Hopefully this inspires you to make some important changes in your life, and it inspires you to pick this book up. So I'm going to quote the book here. If you're anything like me, you spent most of your professional life working your ass off, positioning yourself just so, reaching for that resume building assignment that would put you in line for that next big promotion and that next big job. If you're anything like me, you followed everybody's advice about what success should look like and about the fastest path you can take to fill all the right check boxes along the way. And if you're anything like me, once you filled all those check boxes along someone else's path to someone else's success, you've turned around and wondered why. When everything was so full, it felt so empty. Well, you're not alone. Nearly 2 decades ago, I felt the same way. I was firing on all cylinders, but I was bored, unsatisfied, empty. On paper, my career was a bright and shining light, and yet I was miserable. I felt like a fraud. I was encircled, bounded, and contained by the limits of expectations by what I was supposed to do and how I was supposed to feel. I lacked consonance. I wanted to read from Laura's book, Limitless to celebrate her being a mom slash author slash motivational speaker slash entrepreneur, everything under that umbrella. And it's not easy, right? It's not easy doing all of those things and trying to find your purpose in life. And in this book, Limitless, it helps us find and connect with our greater self, our why, and repurpose our path and redefine success. And I haven't been able to put it down. Like this book is literally filled with notes and the side margins, and it's a great tool for finding motivating factors and challenging yourself to become a better leader. I love it. I love this book, and I think that you guys should definitely pick it up and check it out. And speaking of leadership, I'm excited to be able to bring to you today my conversation with Jairek Robbins. Jairek is a lifestyle entrepreneur, business coach, author. He is many things, and Jairek's commitment to bettering humanity in himself began at an early age and was acknowledged with a Congressional Award, the gold medal. He was awarded this highest honor for accomplishing over 400 hours of community service, 200 hours of personal development, 200 hours dedicated to physical fitness, in which he ran 2 marathons, and living overseas for an extended period, which was 4 months in Uganda volunteering, all within 24 months of each other. And he accomplished this before he was 24 years old, which is crazy in my mind. Jairek has been coaching business owners and teams and individuals for over a decade to achieve world-class results in work and in life through his personal coaching. His coaching has helped them make more money while working less, lose weight, and have more passion in their relationships and more focus and energy than ever before. He is also a best-selling author. His #1 best-selling book, Live It, received raving reviews from Deepak Chopra, Brian Tracy, and many more. The practical tools he shares in Live It can help anyone add deep meaning and purpose to their life while achieving massive success. I am super excited for you guys to hear this conversation. It was very natural flowing and very cool. Jairek is a pretty down-to-earth guy, and it was very cool to be able to connect with him and have a chat about life. And I'm excited, and I want to say thank you to Jairek for coming on the show and allowing me the opportunity to interview him. This is a huge opportunity for the podcast as well as myself. So without further ado, here is my boy. We're best friends now, by the way. Jairek Robbins. Hey, what's up, Superior Nation? Welcome back to Your Superior Self. Today, I am joined by best-selling author, decorated performance coach and speaker, and the founder of Performance Coach University, Jairek Robbins. Jay, welcome to the show, brother.
Hey, thank you for having me. Good to be here.
So what are you up to today? What do you got going on? What is happening in your world?
I had a 8:45 a.m. training, a 10 a.m., 11, 12, 1, 2, 3. This is my 4, and I have a 5 o'clock right after this.
So let's say you have some free time.
Oh, yeah, just hanging out, just reading books, twiddling my thumbs, going to pool later, see what happens.
So founder of Performance Coach University. Tell us about that.
So the purpose was I started coaching 16 years ago now, and I spent 6 years coaching for a major coaching organization in the world. 10 years ago, I broke off on my own, decided to start my own coaching practice. I've learned to differentiate between an actual business and a coaching practice. It's very different. But I started a coaching practice. I built that from 0 to 6 figures in my first 8 months. Most coaches make about $40,000 a year in revenue. I did $100,000 in my first 8 months there. I signed up a ton of clients, was helping a bunch of people, having a lot of fun, optimizing their business, optimizing their health, and it was optimizing their time management. And so I started to work. About four years ago, I just had a realization that it's like, wow, I can only help so many people at a time really, really efficiently. And I learned it's about 20 people at a time I can help really at the highest level on sleep, nutrition, exercise, movement, mindfulness, peer group, really optimizing who they are as a human. And so I decided I needed to actually turn my coaching practice into a business. And when I originally sat down to hire more coaches to come on and service more clients as a business, I put up a post and I had like 125 coaching resumes hit my inbox within, probably a few hours or within the day. And I remember scratching my head thinking, wow, why are there so many coaches applying for a coaching job at the company? Like, I would assume they're all booked and full and doing great. And what I figured out is as I started to read their applications and read their resumes and get to know where they've been and what they've done, there was so many different backgrounds and so many different styles and techniques and approaches to coaching that it would be very difficult to wrap all of that under one brand and promise people they're going to get something consistent because everything was so different. And so I sat down and I said, okay, if I was going to train a coach to work with us, what specifically would I want them to know and what experience would I want them to have? And I designed everything I would do to train the coaches that I wanted to work with our company. And then when I got done with it, the second kind of challenge hit, which was, if I bring a handful of people in here and I train them on every single thing I know, and then they just quit, now I've created my own competition. That doesn't seem very smart. And so I was like, that seems silly too. So instead I wrapped it. I said, well, wait a minute. Why don't I let people who really want to study all the tools and all the strategies we use as a coach to help people grow their business, optimize their health, maximize their relationships, get healthy, and do all the things we help people do. What if I let people sign up and take a course and go through the whole training? And then, the really, really great students, I handpicked them and invited them to come work with us. And so that was the origin of Performance Coach University about, I think it's 4 or 5 years ago. And so we came up with it. We launched it. I taught it one-on-one to a good friend of mine who's a celebrity personal trainer, and he wanted to have more coaching tools. So I taught it one-on-one every weekend to him first. He loved it. Some of his clients were like, wow, like you've really upgraded. This is amazing. Like the stuff you're asking me is so helpful in their fitness training. He was using the coaching there. And then once we tested it worked, I invited a very small group of people to come in and do a kind of our beta launch where I taught it to them live. We recorded all the live sessions. I taught it one more time live to another group of people, recorded all those, and then we put them up online as a coach training and certification. It's now it's accredited by both the ICF and BCC, which are two big accreditation bodies in the U.S. and around the world. And it's a remarkable course. We have really, really wonderful students in it now.
That's amazing. Now, how did you become a coach? Like, what inspired that?
I was working in a nonprofit, and I love helping people. And, we were helping homeless. We were helping people in prisons, reclaim their life and reset up a vision for themselves. We were helping youth leaders. We were helping all kinds of stuff. And the only thing I didn't like about working in the nonprofit was the paycheck. Because I'd get a paycheck after 2 or 3 weeks of work or a month of work and go, that's interesting. And I remember being like, we should get paid a lot more because we're actually helping people every day. Like there's a bunch of people doing stuff that doesn't, in my book, doesn't really help anybody. And they get paid a ton of money. And I'm here working my face off to actually help people. And we get paid a little bit of money. Like, that's not cool. And I remember I walked across the courtyard and I walked into a coaching department of the company I was working for. And my friend ran it at the time. Her name was Charlotte. And I remember asking her and saying, hey, what do these guys do? And she's like, oh, man, they help people. And I'm like, how do they help people? She's like, well, they help them with time management. They help them with, emotions. They help them with physical fitness. They help them with relationships. So I was like, seriously? She's like, yeah. I was like, what do they get paid? She pulled out a couple of pay stubs and showed me. I was like, wow, that's a lot better than what I get paid. And I remember being like, that's interesting. I was like, can I be a coach? I was 18 years old, and I looked at her, and I said, can I be a coach? And I think she humored me. She's like, sure you can, pal. And I was like, no, seriously, like, can I come be a coach here? And she's like, well, you're going to have to apply. We're going to have to, you have to learn all this information. We have 256 hours of training you have to go through to qualify to work with us. Then, we put you in a probationary coaching position where we give you a few clients and we measure and track everything you do. And then from there, if it really works and if it really lands up being good, then we'll ramp you up with a handful of actual clients. And I was like, oh. So I went through all the training, went through all the stuff, did really well, passed all with flying colors, and I became a coach for them. The one thing I really respect about that position is they never let me coach anyone that I didn't have actual life experience in accomplishing whatever my client was trying to work on themselves.
What was the most common life experience that you helped them with?
In that case, when I was 18 years old, it was transforming their health and fitness. And then the other part that I focused on was helping them really take control of their time management. Those are the two things I focused on in coaching at that time.
What about right now?
Oof. So now there's three things we focus on. Number one is optimizing human performance. So similar, but a little more evolved from way back then. And so when we say optimizing human performance, my ideal client is a 35 to 45-year-old male entrepreneur who tends to own probably 1 to 5 businesses, who has 5 to 50 plus employees, makes about $500,000 or more a year net take home income. They have 0 to 3 kids, usually in a significant relationship. The biggest problem they have is they have so much going on that they tend to drop some of the essential habits and tasks each day that will eventually cause everything to come crumbling down either into a heart attack, divorce, or bankruptcy, or a combination of the three.
That is so specific. I mean, how do you develop that avatar?
By working with people for 16 years.
I mean, that's amazing. I mean, to be able to narrow it down to that exact person and to know exactly what's going on in their life, that is yep. People would die to be able to do that. I think a lot of people and business owners nowadays, they have an idea about what their business what their clients look like, or might be as far as age and revenue and all of that. But to really narrow it down and focus on that, like, that's amazing.
Yeah. And what we do is we hold them 100% accountable to do the little things each day that they know they need to be doing to be the happiest, healthiest, strongest, and most fulfilled version of themselves. In working with us, they go from being overwhelmed, exhausted, stressed, and headed for an eventual heart attack, divorce, or bankruptcy to happy, healthy, strong, fulfilled with a beautiful, flourishing family and relationship.
So you did it initially for the paycheck?
No, I did it because I could help people and get paid a little bit more. I think there's something else going on in the coaching space and the personal development space. I don't know if you follow Gary Vaynerchuk. He's a friend. I've known him for a while. And one thing he always says is internet marketers ruin everything. And I always laugh. And I've always thought that. And he goes back in history. He says, way back in the day, email marketing was amazing because you could get into people's email boxes. They were excited to receive your emails. Everything was incredible. Then internet marketers came in and took over. And now people freaking hate opening their email box because they're just pummeled with all kinds of spam and crap from people who are mostly some type of internet marketing, whether it's a big business doing it or an independent doing it, but they're just getting mauled by internet marketers. And, Facebook used to be the coolest thing in the world. And then internet marketers got on there, started running ads and pitching people, and now you get mauled every time you're on there. And pick your poison, whatever platform it is. Something unique happened about maybe 5 to 6, 7 years ago. There was a group. I actually sat down with these guys, and they told me this, and they were proud of it. It was a group of internet marketers, a little mastermind, got together. And they were all selling how to make money online, how to buy and flip houses, how to, start a laptop lifestyle business kind of stuff. They all had their own stuff, and they're all making tons of money doing it. And they said, here's what we think is going to work. We're going to create a bunch of self-help programs, like how to set goals, how to better yourself, how to change your beliefs. We're going to create a bunch of self-help stuff, and we're going to go sell them for a really cheap price to all these people who like self-help. And we're going to tell them how that's why we changed our lives and that's how we've become successful and that's what we've done. And then once we get them in our funnel, then we're going to sell the hell out of them on how to make money online courses. And that's where we're going to make all our money. And there's a big group of these guys who did it. And some of them have pretty big names now and brands. And a lot of people, if you ask them, they'll be like, oh my God, that person's so kind and generous. And oh man, they're all about helping people. But if you sit with them privately, their only goal is, how do I make more money? And how do I get more money off of these people? And they reverse engineered, if they put on a good guy outfit and act like they care, that they can get lots of people to follow them and then they can help them with their personal development program. And then on the back end, sell the tar out of them on some how to make money online program. And it's working. And they're making a ton of money off these people. But I hate to say it because I've sat with them and talked with them. And when I asked them what their goal is, how do I make more money? That's it. That's the only goal they have. And I started with a different goal. My goal was, how do I help people? Our number one value as a company is we care. Number two, we have fun. Number three, we over-deliver. Money was a secondary aspect. I was annoyed that you could help people so much and not make good money doing it. And that was annoying to me. I was like, helping people is always most important. I remember sitting down and having a friend who was going back and forth with someone who's a really big name, who's one of these internet marketers who's become big in personal development. And she was going back and forth talking to this guy. And the guy texted her back and said, "Hey, stop texting me. You're distracting me from money-making activities right now." And I was like, oh, that's interesting. I was like, I literally spend my spare time talking to 12-year-old kids in India, helping them figure out what their life goals are. We just have a different goal. We have a different outcome. We have a different thing that we plan for. My goal is, how do I help people every day? His goal, and I'm not blaming him. People need to make money. Bless his soul. He's not a drug dealer. He's not killing people. He's not doing anything crazy. He's trying to be a good guy. But we have different goals. His goal is, how do I make as much money as possible? And his only goal is, how do I make more?
But how do you filter that? How do you, as a client, decipher through that? Because I mean, a lot of people that come to you guys for coaching, like people need that. People are feeling insecure about where they're going, where they're heading in their lives, and they might go to this other person that's just doing it for the money. Which I agree with you 100% that we should all try to help people and put that first. But obviously, the world is what it is, and we don't necessarily have that all the time. But how do you is there tips that you can give people to help them decipher whether or not that person's just in it for the money?
Ask them what's most important to them, and then watch their behavior. There was a quote I saw earlier today that says, "People who play roles will eventually forget their lines. Pay attention." Oh,
I love that. That is so true, because they're living a lie, or what? Maybe not a lie. I shouldn't say a lie, but
they're playing a role.
They're playing. You're absolutely right.
They're playing a role,
and they'll forget exactly why they're not doing it for the right reasons. That's perfect. I love that.
No. And I can't say it's the wrong reasons. They're doing it for their reasons. Their reasons just aren't to help people. That's my reason. My reason is to help people. Their reason is to make money. And again, people like to say, oh, they're in it for the wrong reasons. They're doing it. They're wrong. They're bad. They're evil. No, they're not. They're just in it for a different reason. And sometimes people who are in it just for the money can still create massive change in people's lives and really help them. Sometimes they'll skimp out because they'll save a little money and they could just get more out of it if they don't help. And so they'll kind of say, oh, just buy my next thing and then I'll help you. And to them, they don't really care. I had a guy who reached out to someone who he saw was a big deal, who was a big helper in the community. He reached out to the guy and he said, "Hey, can I interview you on my podcast?" The guy said, "Buy a ticket to my next event and I'll do the interview." He bought the ticket and he said, "Come to the event and I'll do the interview." He showed up and came to the event, and the guy said, "Sorry, I don't have any time. I'm busy. Can't you see I'm at my event?"
Wow. I'm assuming that's a well-known person, probably.
Very well known. And again, I'm not throwing people under the bus. I'm just saying, pay attention to what's real when you talk and get to know people. Pay attention to who puts in the extra time with you. Pay attention to who cares. And this is something I look for, because I personally go out and sign up for courses all the time. And I just pay attention. Pay attention to what's most important to the people that you're working with. One of our mentors, Keith Cunningham, he's our business mentor. We paid $55,000 to be part of his kind of mastermind group called Board of Directors this year, my wife and I, and we freaking love it. And what's beautiful about this man is he told a story where he was at an event backstage. I think it was a T. Harv Eker event. He was backstage getting ready to go speak, and one of the other speakers came up and said, "Keith, in all the years of business, you've been doing business for 40 years, buying and selling companies, growing companies, turning them around, all the stuff you've done. Did you ever think you'd make the most of your money, selling programs and selling seminars?" Keith looked at him. He said, "I sure as shit don't." He said, "I own a bunch of car washes. I own a bug zapping company. I own a few different other companies. The majority of my cash flow comes from all of those. This is something I do because I like helping people." He goes, "Sure, I make good money here, but I'm in it because I like helping people and teaching people what I've done for 40 years in business. But all my real cash comes from my companies." And I remember sitting down and going, wow. When I heard that, I made it a personal goal, since I grew up in this space and I was always in coaching, and that was my business, was helping people in coaching. I said, you know what? I want to make it a goal in 10 years or less to have the majority of my cash come from other businesses we own and other investments we have, so that coaching can genuinely be, regardless of what we charge for it, something I do because I actually love to do it. And that's the only reason I do it, because it's fun and I enjoy it.
So you said growing up in this, your father, right? I followed in my father's footsteps as well. With my dad's a locomotive engineer, I became a locomotive engineer.
My grandpa was a brakes engineer on what is it? Southern Pacific Railroad.
Really?
Yeah.
That's awesome.
He was in charge of the brakes for the trains that would come in.
That is awesome.
Yeah.
So we got something in common. There you go. Besides following into our father's footsteps. For most of you who probably don't know, his father is Tony Robbins. At any point, like growing up, did you see yourself coming into this space?
So when I was really little, I wanted to, what was my first thing? I think my first thing is I wanted to be a pro surfer. And that didn't go as well as I imagined. Then I thought about the NBA, and that'd be cool. That didn't go as far as I thought it would. And then I went into psychology because I like learning about people. I like humans. I'm a humanist. I like what humans do. I'm curious about humans. They're a lot of fun to me. And then I went into psychology. Actually, before I did psychology, I was looking at political science to get a law degree, just because I thought it'd be cool to have a law degree, but I didn't want to be a lawyer. I just wanted to know law. I decided that, not my thing. So I went into psychology, really loved every moment of it. And then I popped out there. And after I graduated with my degree in psychology, I went into sales for 2 years, outside door-to-door, office-to-office sales. That was wonderful. And then from there, I circled back into the nonprofit. Oh, no, before that. When I was in school studying psychology, that's when I worked at the nonprofit. That's when I went and originally became a coach. So I did that for 3 years. Then I went and quit everything and did 2 years outside sales. Then I came back to coaching for 3 more years for that company. And then I decided to break off on my own the 6th year and start my own coaching practice. And so all those different weaves, and they were all wonderful lessons. What I was looking for more, instead of what I wanted to be, I was looking for what skill sets would I need to have in life to really prepare me for the life I wanted to live. And so when I looked out at the life I wanted to live, to have freedom, to have flexibility, my goal was to be able to work from anywhere, anytime, any place, as long as I had a laptop, the internet, and a cell phone. So I said, what skill sets would I need that you could take me, pick me up, take me to the other side of Earth, drop me in a place where people don't even speak English, and within 24 to 72 hours, I could not only be adding value to the community, but I could add so much value that they would easily give me a place to stay. They would welcome me to the community, and eventually, bartering system at first, but then after so long, I could start earning revenue or a living from it and be able to take care of my family, take care of the community, and do good just because I had some type of value to add by showing up like that. And so I started to say, what skills would I need? So door-to-door sales, part of what they did with me is I would get picked up. They'd move me to another city. They'd drop me into the city. Didn't know anyone. Never been there before. And I did this in Boston. New York City was my very first city. They moved me from San Diego to New York City in January. I've never lived in the cold before, so that was an experience. So New York City, Atlanta, Boston, Tampa, Irvine, Los Angeles. Those are all my cities I got to go to over 2 years. And every time they drop me into a city with like 5-6 other sales guys, kind of like the mission that Mormon groups go on, where you kind of get dropped in a city and you got to go knock on everyone's door, or they used to have the encyclopedia book sales camps in the summer where they drop you in a city and you go knock on everyone's door. It was the same thing as that, except I'd knock on all the business doors instead of people's houses. And I'd be there to set up a free training and show them, give them this free peak performance workshop and then sell them tickets to a seminar. And my thought was that'd be a really important life skill, because now you could pick me up, drop me in any city on earth. I'll just walk around, introduce myself, set up a free workshop, go deliver tons of value, and then offer my services at the end. And I don't have to hard sell anybody. I could just show them what we have, and they'll be excited to grab a hold of it.
I mean, was it that easy though? I mean, I tell you what, public speaking is a fear for me, even though I have the podcast, which is part of my personal growth and development. But it is tough for me to go in any type of room really and speak, in front of a group. And I couldn't imagine trying to sell something. Like, was that hard for you, or were you just kind of natural at that?
Dude, I sucked at it in the beginning. I got turned down from my first interview. I read the script. I read the script. I was all excited. I got the gist of it. I didn't memorize it word for word. I just got the gist of it. I went in there. I stood up in front of the sales team, and he said, the boss gave me a shot to deliver the script and presentation. I hacked it, and within 5 minutes of starting, he said, "Why don't we go ahead and stop there?" He said, "Everyone else, you guys can go ahead and leave now." And he sat me down and he goes, "Listen, I asked you to memorize this word for word. You didn't, clearly. He said, here's what we're going to do. I'm going to give you one more shot at this. And if you get it, we'll have you on the team. If you don't, I'll never let you try out again." I was like, wow. I moved up to my uncle's house, who he was also about to try out for the team. And him and I spent the next 30 days memorizing that script word for word. And we memorized it. I just graduated. I had no money. I didn't have a job at this point. That was my job I was trying out for that I failed. And I had to go up there and memorize it for 30 days. We memorized word for word a 36-page script. And then we both came down and we stood at a friend's apartment the night before. And we went in and we both gave it our best shot. And we got it. I got it the second round. He got it the first. And we were put on the team. And then they packed us up and shipped us out to New York City the next week to go start delivering presentations.
Wow. That's got to be nerve-wracking. Like, I cannot imagine, like, your job's on the line. You have 30 days to memorize this script and come back and you get a second shot at it on that day. Like, but in all seriousness, I feel this sometimes, but like, do you ever feel pressure because of who your father is, like, to succeed, or is there an expectation for you to be at a certain level?
No. In that case, they certainly had an expectation, because I learned later that they had literally filled a calendar for me and thought I was going to be the greatest thing that ever came onto the team. I wasn't. I sucked. and I remember my first meeting was in Connecticut, and I was based in Jersey City. So I got up in the morning, got in my car, never drove in the snow before, so I had to learn that. Drove 3-4 hours up to Connecticut for my 9 a.m. meeting at a real estate office. I stood up and delivered the best presentation I've ever thought I could give in my life. At the end of the meeting, I said, "How many people want to go to the seminar?" Lots of people raised their hands. I passed out all the forms, and then jokingly, I always say the devil woman stood up and said, "Caravan," and everyone left. and nothing wrong with her. I didn't know what I didn't know. And what I didn't know is at the end of a real estate office training, a lot of times they'll do a caravan where they all go get in a van and drive around to go see the houses that they're trying to sell. And so that might be 45 minutes or 2 hours to go see all the houses that they're trying to sell as an office. So they're all very familiar with them. And meanwhile, I was sitting there thinking, what the heck? Who is this lady that just stole all my sales? I had like 20 sales in that room, and now they're all gone on some caravan thing. And I drove back for 4 hours shaking my head thinking, what the heck just happened? That was not the plan. I thought I was killing it until they all left. But it was a great lesson. Great lesson. Like, it's not as easy as you think. It's going to be harder than you imagine, but you got to get good at it. And I spent 2 years doing that. And eventually, towards the middle to end of it, I got pretty good at it. I could go deliver a presentation in a room, and within an hour of training, people would be willing to spend 4 days and on average $800 to $1,000 to come and check out a seminar that we were talking about. And I was like, wow, that's pretty cool. I can go deliver an hour presentation and people make a 4-day and $1,000 decision by the end of that hour.
That's phenomenal. I mean, I remember when I first became a locomotive engineer, and I forgot to mention that my grandfather was a locomotive engineer. My dad was a locomotive engineer. I became one. And my grandfather was like a legend. He was like the John Wayne of the railroad industry. Like, he was just like, everybody respected him. And I had this huge shadow that I was living under. You talk about pressure, dude. Like, anytime, did you ever feel like you were not doing what you were supposed to be or living up to a certain standard?
No. So the one thing that was really useful is both parents really were awesome in raising me. And what was great about them is they both wanted me to go do whatever I wanted to do. And they told me, they're like, I don't care if you want to be homeless, or if you want to be in the FBI, or, if you want to be in the CIA, or you want to start a company, or you want to travel, like whatever you want to do, go do it. And they're like, well, we'll support certain things more than others, clearly, but you got to do it. And one of the greatest gifts my dad gave me was at 18. He said, hey, I'll help you finish college financially. Like, I'll help pay for the school. But the moment you turn 18, you're on your own, bud. And I remember being like, oh, what does that mean? And he's like, there's one rule about money. I was like, what is it? He's like, don't ask. Figure it out. I remember being like, oh, but what if, and my brain started coming up with all kinds of like situations where it might be nice to be able to ask for money. He's like, no, the answer is no. So just say no. So don't ask. And he said, the greatest thing you can teach yourself as a young man in this world is to figure out how to create the wealth that you desire. And I remember being like, huh, that's weird. Like, okay. And it didn't seem weird. I didn't know any different. I didn't have like dad number 3 who told me like, don't worry, son, we'll hook you up. Like, I didn't have any different. So that seemed normal to me. I was like, okay, I'll figure it out. And what that really helped with was, as I was figuring out what worked and what didn't, it was all on my own 2 feet. Like, there was never a handout. There was never a hookup. He's very much against nepotism. So I remember I won an award one time when I worked for the nonprofit, and he was in the back of the room yelling, nepotism. And I was laughing. I was like, hey, he doesn't like that stuff. He'd if there was an easy way up the mountain and there was, a hard way up the mountain, he'd be like, you could choose whatever you want, but I would suggest to take the hard way, because it's going to really cause you to grow as a human. You'll be capable of so much more. Now, the choice is always mine, but he would always suggest to give myself the harder challenge if I had the choice. And so, that was something he invited me to do up in Canada one summer. He said, hey, just looking at you as a man, thinking of things that would make you better. He goes, here's one, work ethic, hard work. He's like, if you could fall in love with hard work, I think it would really help you gain some muscle in a place that you could be stronger. I'm like, okay. So I said, I'll do it. I moved up to Canada, and I took a hard labor job at a lumber yard. And so every morning at 4:30 in the morning, I'd get up, I'd work out, lift some weights, run for a half hour, lift for a half hour, eat breakfast real quick, get ready, drive to this, 20 minutes to get to the side of the freeway. A van of migrant workers from India would pull over and pick me up. I'd jump into the van. We would drive an hour and a half up to the lumber yards. Half of us would go to one yard, half the other. And then we just stack wood all day. Pick it up, move it over, set it down. Pick it up, move it over, set it down. That's it, all day. Just lumber stacking, normal job. And I remember in the beginning, I was like, yeah, it's easy. I got this. I'm strong. I'm capable. And I was getting up, coming home after probably 2-hour drive home because of traffic, 20 minutes back to the house, go lift weights, get my cardio in, do a run, eat dinner, go pass out, wake up 6 days a week doing that. In the beginning, it was all about proving myself and showing what I was capable of. About halfway through, I remember looking at myself in the mirror and thinking, how dumb are you? Why in the hell would you sign up for this? I could be learning a new skill set. I could be making more money. I could be getting my resume ready for life. There's so many other things I could be doing right now except for stacking stupid piles of wood. I'm smarter than this. I'm better than this. Why am I getting told what to do? I should be telling these guys what to do. And all these stories started coming into my head. A lot of stories which sound like young people in the workplace nowadays. But all these stories started flooding my mind. I'm better than this. I'm smarter than this. I have a degree. All this stuff's piling up in my head. And I remember at one point looking at myself in the mirror in the bathroom and thinking, who the hell do you think you are? I said, who the hell do you think you are? And the reason I said that is I said, stop for a second. We're not that far off as a country from a moment in history during the Great Depression when grown men would wait in line for 8 to 12 hours a day for the opportunity to get in a couple hours of work, regardless of what it was. Grown men would wait in line for 8 hours to be able to put in 2 hours of work, to be able to get a piece of bread to take home to their kids at night. And I'm here thinking I'm better than this job. I'm smarter than this. And I walked outside, and there was a guy named Uncle Dubai. He was like a 70, 80-year-old man who'd stacked lumber his entire life since he was 17 years old. And I had talked to him before. I asked him, like, why do they call you Uncle Dubai? And he's like, because I stack lumber in Dubai and in 100-something degree weather. I stack lumber here in Canada in negative-something degree weather. He's like, I stack lumber all over the world my whole life. I was like, really? And I was like, why'd you choose lumber? And he's like, it's what I could do. I was 17. I said, why'd you start doing it at 17? And he says, in my tradition, in my family, in my culture, the oldest living male is financially responsible for the entire family. And he said, at 17, all my older relatives died, and I was the oldest living male in my family. And therefore, I had to find a job that I could produce money to be able to take care of my entire family. And I've done it my entire life to be able to take care of my family.
You talk about pressure. Yeah, I have nothing compared to this guy. Like that is a tremendous pressure to have to go out and support your entire family.
Yeah. And even if he had a brother that's 6 months younger than him, in the Indian culture, he would still have to pay for everything, and that brother could be a total turd if he wanted to. And you know, it happens every now and then, but sometimes, a lot of times they're great, but every now and then, and he's the oldest living male, so he's financially responsible of the whole household, all the generations that are there, grandma, grandpa, all the way down to the youngest child. And whoever the oldest living male is, they're financially responsible in the way that he grew up. Therefore, from 17 years old, he went and busted his ass every day to stack lumber for the opportunity to take home his money and hand it to his family and take care of the ones he loved. And then I went back for a second. I was in the bathroom looking myself in the mirror thinking, I'm better than this. I'm smarter than this. And I remember thinking, what a joke. A grown man would spend his entire life in dedication of service to the ones he loves. And I'm here thinking I'm better than something that's more or less a job that God or the universe or Mother Nature or life has given me the opportunity to work. And if I have this opportunity to work, I need to squeeze the life out of it and make the most out of it. Because I don't know what the next opportunity is going to look like. I don't know what the economy is going to do. Who knows? Maybe it, knock on wood, it doesn't. But maybe it takes a tank like the Great Depression, and being able to stack lumber is the greatest opportunity available. And if I happen to be good at it because I've worked at it and learned how to fall in love with it, maybe I could take care of my family better than I would be able to without knowing that knowledge. Seems simple, but a lot of times we take these things for granted because we don't realize how special they really are.
So it taught you gratitude.
Not gratitude. It taught me, number one, work ethic. So how to show up and bust your butt from 4:30 in the morning till 7, 8 at night when you pass out and have to wake up and do it again 6 days a week. It taught me how to be humble. Stand next to a man who dedicated from 17 to 70-something years old in service of the ones he loves his entire life. It was a very humbling moment to stand next to someone like that and think, wow, I'm here complaining about my feelings, and this man has dedicated his whole life to taking care of the ones he loves. I could learn from that. That's humbling. I need to grow up a little and stop thinking about myself and start thinking about the ones I love and how to take care of them and provide for them. It taught me, that I was stronger than I thought. It was hard. I don't know if you've ever stacked lumber for 12 hours a day. It jacks up your body pretty much.
I bet you're cut. You were swole after that, though, right?
I was very strong. I was strong like a lumberjack or strong like a carpenter after that. Like, I didn't realize how freaking strong all the little muscles in my body were after that. I could pick up a human very easily and not.
You start breaking things. You can't pick anything up without breaking it. It's like, what is going on?
I mean, I'd go lift up a normal dumbbell or something, and it felt like it was a featherweight. I'd hand it to somebody, they'd be like, oh, and fall with it. I'm like, what? And you just don't, man. Big bulky kid. I just didn't realize how strong I was after all that, because that was 3 months of hardcore freaking physical training. The other thing that was very interesting that happened is when I went up to work there, I only had probably a couple $100 in my bank account total. And I remember trying to figure out what I was going to do to keep my mind going all day. Cause none of these guys, a few of these guys spoke English, but my partner did not speak English. So the guy I was paired up with, where he was on one side and I was on the other of every lift, he didn't speak English. So I couldn't talk to him. So I'm like, dude, this is mind numbing to just do this all day without anything to listen to or read or, talk to at least. And so I remember my grandma sent me an iPod for my birthday, and I spent all the money I had downloading as many audiobooks as I could afford off of iTunes. And I just listened to my 15 audiobooks nonstop the entire 3 months. And I listened to Rich Dad Poor Dad. I listened to my dad's Get the Edge program a bunch of times. I listened to Richest Man in Babylon. I listened to some health books. I listened to my 15 books that I bought. I wish I had a list of the original 15, but I listened to these so many times that I actually memorized all of them. So I just had knowledge pounded in my head for 3 months. Was the other benefit that came from this. Was I took a hard labor job and it turned, into a place where I could learn.
What was the first thing you did when you got done with that job?
Actually, I got on a trip called Semester at Sea, and I took a cruise around the world for 100 days. Actually, my heart got cracked open when I saw how the majority of the world lives. The whole statistic of most people live on less than $3 or $2 a day. I got to see that face to face and go, wow. Okay. I remember being in South Africa. We walked into this kind of cement apartment building with no kind of, there were doors, but it was interesting. It was like, just kind of wood doors that were hammered together. And I remember walking into a room that was no bigger than like a college dorm room, had 2 single beds in it. And they said, this is a 2-family room. There's 2 families of 5 that live in this room. I was like, you're telling me 10 people live in this room? Like where they put their stuff? And as you looked on the wall, you'd see like a nail with 3 hangers and like 2 outfits. And I'm like, oh my God, that's one person's whole closet right there. I'm like, wow. I'm like, what about their food? And there was a mini fridge in the room. And I was like, oh my God. And then in the like living room area, there's no furniture, but there was just black soot up the wall. Like someone had an open fire inside, and they're like, oh yeah, they tell them not to, but they have open fires inside to cook their meals on little plates out here. I'm like, holy smokes. And then like, that was really nice. We walked outside to a shantytown that was made of all these little tin houses. And they said, yeah, the problem they used to have here was once a week, the government would send a bulldozer to come bulldoze down their entire neighborhood. And then, after it bulldozed down on Friday night, they'd all come gather all their stuff and kind of rebuild their neighborhood. And by Saturday afternoon, they'd all have the little houses put back up. And then next week on Friday, here it comes again and just crush, everyone's house gets run over. I'm like, oh my God. And like, you just scratch your head. And that seemed crazy until I got all the way up to East Africa, where I went out and spent some time in the villages. People had no running water, no electricity, no toilets, and they lived in mud huts. I was like, wow, people really live like this? This is amazing. And the mud hut is no bigger than most people's like bathroom in their house. And that's, a hut for 3 people to live in with little beds in there. And I was like, wow, that's crazy. And that just opened up my eyes and opened my heart. And I'm like, I got to help. I can't just go home and, go to a fancy college in San Diego and drive a car and live in an apartment and all this stuff. I'm like, I got to help. So I came home and I was like, I got to go back. And so I signed up for an organization which now is called Restless Development. It used to be called Student Partnership Worldwide. And I went back for 3 months and lived in a village in Uganda teaching organic farming to try to help the villagers, really strengthen their farming.
How does someone get involved in like that? Like, I mean, I know there's websites. I should probably start doing a little bit more of that. But like, how can someone get involved in these types of missions?
I Googled it. Like I literally went online and I'm like, volunteer opportunities around the world. And I just started reading website after website after website. And that one popped up. And I was like, cool. And I was like, I really feel called to East Africa for some reason, just because I like the people there. I like the culture. I like the weather. So like, I want to help someone over here. And I found one in Uganda. And I was like, that's awesome. And so I signed up, I went through, they accepted me, and I went and did it.
I got to get on it. I got to do something like that, because service, nothing fills your heart up more than doing something for someone else.
That's right. I remember I have friends who I've interviewed for our podcast, and they've said stuff like, oh, when I was volunteering around the world, I would see people who had nothing, but they were so happy. And I always pause them and say, wait. I used to live in a village. Pause. Go back. You said had nothing. What do you mean? And they're like, well, like, no, explain yourself. What do you mean? And they're like, well, they don't have any stuff. And I was like, well, wait a minute. You said they had nothing. Were they healthy? And they're like, yeah. Were they happy? Yeah. Did they have family and community around them? Yeah. And I said, I don't understand by what you mean by nothing then.
That's pretty powerful. Because, I mean, everybody nowadays, they're focused on the stuff, the house, the car, the objects. They don't think about what you just mentioned: community, family members, health. Health is a big one.
Health. It doesn't feel like a big one until you lose a little of it, and then it's a real big one. People complain about being in traffic on their way to work, and I always say, let's say I'll give you a little funny story. It's something I wrote about in my book, where you get in the you're getting ready for work, and I don't drink coffee, but a lot of people do. So you're getting ready for work. You pour your cup of coffee. You're walking towards the door. You go to open the door. It bumps your cup of coffee. It spills it on your shirt, and you go, "Oh man, crap! I got a problem." And that's a big old problem. And then you're like, you know what? I don't have time to change, so I'm just going to get in the car and go. So you're driving, and you got this big old problem called a coffee stain. And then you pull onto the highway, and there's dead stop traffic. And they're like, oh, crap. Now I got a big old problem called traffic. And that's way bigger of a problem than a cup of coffee stain on my thing. And then you're in traffic, and that's a big problem. And then all of a sudden, the guy behind you goes, and crashes into your car. And now you're like, crap. Now the traffic ain't the problem. Now that my rear end is the freaking problem. And then you get out of the car and you're like, crap, my car's denting and this is a problem. And you're pissed about the problem. And then all of a sudden you hear skirt. And all of a sudden the car pins the you between your car and their car. And now your car being dented ain't a freaking problem anymore. Now your legs being crushed between two cars is a freaking problem. And then they get you in the ambulance and they rush you to the hospital. And you're like, oh my God, my legs are crushed. Oh my God, I got this biggest problem. And then they put you in a little room with the curtain. And you hear something weird on the other side of the curtain. You pull it back and you see your wife standing there looking over your child lying in a bed unconscious. And now your legs aren't a problem anymore.
Wow, that is powerful.
When we talk about problems, you need to realize problems are very relative to what's going on in the morning. I'm sorry, not morning, moment. And most of us think our problem is a problem. I'll tell you a quick story. I had a friend of mine I interviewed on our podcast, just real quick. He grew up 17 years, 0 to 17. Every day he watched his dad beat the tar out of his mom. And when he got old enough, 15, 14, 13, he started stepping in front of the punches himself and getting the tar kicked out of him. And so bad, he would have to lock himself in his room for 3 days to get the swelling to go down around his face. At 17 years old, that man got arrested for attempted murder on him and his mom. And his mom told him, I'm so sorry, honey, that's your adopted father, not your blood father. And he said, wow, thank God I don't have to grow up to be like that guy. Fast forward, story didn't end there. Fast forward, this guy had a rough life. Got hooked on drugs for a while, started dealing drugs for a while, eventually turned his stuff around, eventually got his life together, eventually got married, had some beautiful children, eventually got divorced, didn't turn out to be the right relationship, eventually got his stuff together in business, made a ton of money, started buying and selling companies. And then one day got a phone call about 1.5 years ago. Phone call said, hey, we're going on an operation to go free a bunch of young kids who've been sex trafficked. We're going to go do a sting operation and help these kids. Are you in? And his thought was, couldn't you have called me when I was homeless? Like, I didn't have anything to lose back then. Like, you got to call me right now when my business is going good. I'm making good money. I got healthy kids. I'm happy. Like, everything's good in my life. And now I got to go risk my life. Oh, God. And in his mind, he told me, he's like, couldn't I just write a check? But he said, if I would have said no, he said my shadow mission would have been in action, meaning some part of me was saying it's okay for this kind of stuff to be going on in the world. And he said, it's not okay, and I'm not okay with it. He said, of course I'll be there. Tell me when and where, and I'll make it happen. He showed up. This group of people went and did a sting operation. They went down. The police came in, busted the whole thing, arrested all the people who were trafficking. They freed 30 young kids that day, 9, 12, 13 years old, who when they busted into this room were tied up, chained, and handcuffed to beds being used for $60 on the hour. When all those kids were out of that room, he sat down at the end of that bed with tears streaming down his eyes. And I said, why were you crying? He said, excuse the language. You can bleep this out if you have to, but he said, I realized at that moment I have no fucking problems in life. He said, a week before when I was upset with my kid because they didn't get their homework done on time, the week before when I was arguing with my partner, he said, I thought those were problems. And the truth is, when we realize most of us have no fucking problems, we can then go spend our time helping people who actually are in a problematic situation.
I just, the problem that I have is, I don't have a problem compared to that, but it takes everyone something like that to realize that they have no problems, right? It takes them losing someone or a tragic story to realize that the things that we bitch about, the things that we get upset about, the things that we hold, inside of us mean nothing at the end of the day.
It doesn't mean they're wrong. It's just we're focused on stuff and making it out to be much more than it really is. Instead of realizing most stuff is just a beautiful opportunity. There was another story. My dad went and interviewed a lady who was 103 or 104 years old, who, when she was young, her and her son got put in a concentration camp. And she played the piano. So they picked her out of the group and said, hey, you're going to come in this room and you're going to play the piano and make yourself look real damn happy while you do it. Otherwise, if you're not happy enough and people don't believe how happy you are, we're going to shoot your kid right in front of you. And so she played that piano as happy as humanly possible every day so they could make propaganda videos and make it look like the concentration camps were these beautiful places that people were having such a grand time. And she played that piano as happy as she could every day, even though afterwards they'd throw her in a room with a piece of bread and say, good luck, we'll see you tomorrow. And she barely survived. And she survived because she survived for her son. Fast forward, when Dad interviewed her and he asked her, what's been the most beautiful moments of your life and the hardest moments of your life? She said, this is going to sound weird, but something that I'm so grateful for was having to be put in that concentration camp. And he said, why? And she said, because it's made every day since the greatest day of my life.
Jay, man, I could talk to you all day, man. You just are I love your energy. I love hearing your stories. I think you're doing positive things in the world. I just love everything that you're doing. How can people connect with you?
Find me on Instagram. Or it's just at Jairek Robbins, or go to Google, type in Jairek Robbins to your best of your ability. You'll see my smiling mug pop up. Click any of those links and they'll all lead to me. Social media is great. I chat with people all day long on there. Or come to my website. Go to jrctv.com. Check out our YouTube channel. We have lots of stuff that we push out daily. I'm on Instagram every day pushing live chats to push out good thoughts. Our mission under all of this is to help the people that need it, or to reach the people that need us most at the moment they need it with the message they need. I always say we don't know who you are, where you are, what you need, but every day we'll push out good thoughts in hopes to find you. It's a blessing that every single day we receive little messages from around the world, as simple as, thanks, I needed this, and as deep as, I was in my darkest hour last night and a little moonlight you shined my way reminded me of what it is and why it is that I want to stay alive. So thank you. And those are true blessings. And so I'm very grateful that we have the opportunity to serve and help and spread good thoughts each day. And so find me online. If you see something that resonates, click share and share it with your community or friends or family. You never know when that message is needed most in someone's life around you.
Jairek Robbins, I want to say thank you so much for coming on the show. It is truly an honor to have you on and just have a genuine conversation with you. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
I want to say thank you to Jairek for hanging out and having a genuine conversation with me and being honest and spreading motivation and inspiration. And I got a ton out of your stories. I got a ton out of your experiences. And I need to stay humble. I need to show more humility, and I need to live in the moment and realize that things could be way worse than they are, and show gratitude and learn from my mistakes and work harder and learn from the work. Appreciate the work. Appreciate that we all have jobs that we go to every day. It might not be what you want in the moment, but be grateful that you have the opportunity to learn every day. And, man, if this is your first time listening to the podcast, please hit subscribe, leave a rating and a review. You can find me on Instagram at TDowns80, Facebook Trey Downs, DOWNES, and on Twitter at DownsTrey. Hit me up over there. I'll try to respond. I'm pretty good about it. I want to hear from you guys, your feedback about the show and what you're up to today. And I really hope that this episode and my podcast helps you guys become your superior self, and that can be whatever that means in your life, whether it's being a better parent, better spouse, better person. And I hope you guys have a great week. I'll talk to you guys later.
Everything is going great. Gold plated on my wrist. Wake up, call Uber, then I'm blowing kisses to your bitch. I'm out here, I'm taking